Hopefully this mic doesn't suck too much compared to the old one. I am astounded by the just rank hypocrisy among the media and among large sections of the public in the United States regarding the withdrawal from Afghanistan. After years and years of people saying, why are we still there? We should get out. We should leave. When it actually happens, what is everyone obsessed with? Not the fact that they left, but the fact that they screwed up some things when they left. Right? Because evidently the Pentagon had deluded itself into believing that the Afghan army was more competent than it actually was, and therefore they could withdraw troops without withdrawing, all of their civilian presence, withdrawing the embassy, withdrawing all the people that had worked with them, because they anticipated that, the Afghan government would last, at least maybe 6 months more. The Soviet-backed government, infamously, of course, lasted a couple more years before going down. So same with South Vietnam. So they figured, it's probably going to collapse, but not immediately. They were totally wrong. So then they had to scramble to get everyone out at the last minute. Now, obviously, that's an intelligence failure and or just pure delusion. But the fact that everyone is obsessed with that mistake, rather than celebrating the fact that the U.S. is finally out of Afghanistan, that Biden actually went through with it, shows to me that everybody who harped on for the past, decade about how anti-war they were, most of them are fucking hypocrites, alright? They aren't really anti-war. Right? Because if they were, they'd be going, you know what? I don't really care that it looks bad or that we messed up. What's important is that we're out. But they're not. They're obsessing about ma women, ma poor women, and ma interpreters, and ma civilians, and how could they mess this up so badly? We look so terrible. It's like they're more obsessed with the optics of it than whether or not they should actually do it. It's like everybody is fine to say, oh yeah, we should get out of Afghanistan when, nothing's happening in Afghanistan. But then when it actually happens, and it looks bad, quote unquote, oh, now I care. Now I'm angry. And I'm not even anti-war, okay? Going into Afghanistan was totally justified, morally speaking. It was a stupid idea. It wasn't a good idea, because the only real way to get rid of the Taliban would unironically be genocide, because most people in Afghanistan support the Taliban, and continually give them support and aid and fighters and whatnot. So you would, and they're not going to give it up because they're, religious fundamentalists. So it's not like you're going to persuade them out of this. So unironically, you'd have to go full China. In fact, you'd probably have to go more than full China. Because you probably wouldn't be able to just do re-education camps. You'd have to fucking kill millions of people. Because there's millions of people who support the Taliban. So barring doing that, which isn't a great idea either, the most intelligent decision with Afghanistan is to not physically invade the place in the first place. Especially since all supply lines to it are reliant on flying aircraft through the territory of countries that are at best wary and at worst hostile to the United States. So it was never a good idea to go into Afghanistan to begin with. Even if it was justified, it wasn't a smart idea. And I'm sitting here going, when Biden actually did it, when he actually withdrew troops, I was like, fuck yes, finally. It's about time this idiocy came to an end. And yes, of course, okay, yes, they fucked up the withdrawal because they assumed that the Afghan army would last longer than it did. But that to me is secondary, okay? Because it's far more important that this mistake of going into Afghanistan be corrected than that we necessarily, or I shouldn't say we because I'm not American, than that the Americans necessarily get the withdrawal right, that they do it in a perfect manner, all right? And if you're obsessing about how they didn't do it correctly rather than the fact that they did it at all, it shows me that your priorities in this were always optical not substantive. And that's depressing. And if Biden actually gets hit on this, right, if he, for instance, loses the next election because people go after him for how badly he fucked this up, I guarantee you, the next stupid war that the U.S. gets itself involved in, the next guerrilla quagmire, that president will never withdraw from it. And no subsequent president will ever withdraw from it. It will just keep going because they will see that actually the American people are not really, when the chips are on the table, against this war. They're more concerned about the optics. So you should stay there no matter what, because it will be worse for you. You will take a massive PR hit. You may lose your electoral bid if you actually withdraw. So I hope that people's attention spans on this are short. Because if they're not, and Biden actually gets punished for this, the next one, Vietnam 3.0, will go on forever. Which would be a really, really terrible idea. But Americans will have no one but themselves to blame because they demand perfection and perfect PR, apparently, for them to be comfortable with withdrawing from a unwinnable fight. Otherwise, they seem more content to just stay there, even if they won't admit it. And that's disappointing.